over to the Netherlands, James, and this is a story submitted via a listener at hashtag New World Next Week. And again, people out there can submit stories, because we are not only crowdfunded, but also, of course, crowdsourced with our news as well. This is kind of a bad translation, and I'll explain a little bit about it as we get through it. It comes from the Netherlands News. Citizens can earn points by helping police find stolen cars. Citizens can photograph badges and make sure the car is stolen, whether the citizen is asked to look for a specific license plate in his area. With a hit, the detective can get points. The app is one of the projects under the Police of the Future. For example, the police is working on an app that professionalizes people's help in the search for a missing person. By mapping out what has already been sought, an area can be even more targeted, according to the Corps chief. The use of citizens for the search is a matter of discussion. Eelco Moorman, 29, who studied law, recently graduated from Erasmus University on this research. He believes that development in this area not only benefits. What are the disadvantages? You would not like to find out if the neighbor is watching you all the time with a camera to see if you're doing anything suspicious, but it's happening. If the police want to film or listen to people, there are all kinds of rules. For example, there must be permission from a prosecutor. For citizens, those rules are not. Now, bad translations aside, and I think it's interesting to note that the headline actually does say civilians, and of course that civilians means that we're in a militarized world, and you're either in the army or you're a civilian, which means you're probably going to be collateral damage. So, James, I'm not sure what you get with these points. Is it cash or trade or script at the company store or what? But as I started to dig around on the story, I can link us up to, and of course everything we say and play always included down in the show notes, the big massive PDF from the Netherlands, Future of Police Missions it is called, and fortunately it is in very plain English, so we'll again include that so people can continue their research. As I was digging around and trying to, of course, find better translations and a little more context to this story, there's a related one that says, being excited by the neighbors does not feel good. Essentially, again, they're talking about the surveillance state and whether or not you can either be surveilled upon or you can watch everybody else, and it's just kind of dragging you into it. What this reminds me of, James, as I'm bumbling around, is your recent report. So you've decided to stop using Google, and actually this translation in this story was originally submitted by the listener using Google Translation, so that's pretty much what I started with. And I think we can find, as I dug a little bit more, really a couple of interesting parts before I throw it back to you, James. Fewer cars stolen in the Netherlands. Thefts dropped to historic low. I found this story from January of 2017 in the Netherlands. So if car thefts are at an historic low in the Netherlands, why the push to make everybody be snoops, huh, James?
Yeah, good question. And again, I think this goes back to essentially the same, or a flip side of that same story we were talking about with China. It is the gamification of everything, making everything into a game so you can make citizenry into a good game, so you can become a good citizen by getting points, or you can get these points that you can use somehow for whatever purpose by snitching on your fellow citizens. That's exactly what they want to do, is to make this into a game so that people will have fun participating in it. And it's an exceptionally effective way of playing on basic human psychology, which you will know if you watched the recent revivification of my You Are Being Gamed podcast, which was from 7 years ago, but was recently put up on the Corbett Report Extras channel, made into a YouTube or a video by Brock West. So if you haven't checked that out yet, please do so. The aim is to gamify everything, make everything into a game so that people will have fun doing it. And with that trick, you can manipulate people into all sorts of behaviors, including becoming snitches, and actively going out and policing other people, because that's the most effective way to police a population, is not to have jackboots walking around the streets, but to make everybody into a police, deputize everyone so that they all feel like they're part of the system. It's exceptionally creepy the way that plays on our most basic human psychology, and again, people have to recognize this for what it is and see it as part and parcel of that same thing we were talking about in story 1.
Yes, not jackboots, it's brown shirts, essentially. And James, I think you meant to say it's up on BitChute, I believe is the platform.
That is exactly what I meant to say, thank you.